Did you ever find yourself in a situation where you were in like real danger?
Well, it comes to your point. Yes. As it happens, there were 5 areas of open water that were almost identical, just like the width of a typical canal. So I come walking across a relatively flat ice floe, canal 1 frozen over, where the 2 ice floes are just pulled apart by about 10 meters. And it would been refrozen. And I went across quite ginger, I was checking it all out, and I went across, and then about a mile on, exactly the same. Ice looked exactly the same, gave it a bit of a prodding, walked across, didn't put my immersion suit on, didn't need to. And the 3rd, and the 4th, and then there was a 5th. And I thought, I've seen it, I know what I'm doing, it's just like the other ones. And it probably pretty much was, but it doesn't always freeze absolutely evenly with even thickness. And I fell in. I broke through the ice, dropped in, I didn't have my immersion suit on. And I was sort of 5 meters out. And so I'm up to my neck within a second. It's panic. It's pure panic for a second or two. But then the training of knowing, having been in the water a few times before, and the training of knowing what the brain will do is it will instantly look for a way out. Okay. And so there's a massive surge of adrenaline. You're like some sort of supercharged wild animal, and you see something, you think, right, I'm going for there. That's a bit of bigger ice. That's where the bank is, or what have you. And so off you go. But the reality is that may not be the best way, or even it may be impossible to get out by that route. It looks like you could. You've made a decision. You're not making any more decisions. You're just going. And the trick is to literally hang in the water. You're not going to die in the next few seconds. You're not going to die in the next 30 seconds. Hang in the water. Don't thrash around, and look all around you. Actually, where is the nearest ice that will enable you to get out? And that is pure training. And in a sense, if you don't even know that's the issue, you have no chance of knowing that some training needed and to know how to override the natural reaction. So that's what got me out. So I saw there was a lump of ice, and it was a good sort of 10 meters from the bank. So it's a slightly, let's say, sort of, where are we now? 20-meter crossing. And I saw there's a block of ice that was had fallen off the edge and had been frozen in. And that was the nearest. If I could get up onto that, then I could get from there, I could then more safely get back onto the bank.
Yeah, parting question for me would be, what was the one daily thing you did to really bring alive or activate that positive mindset?
Well, for me, it's all about goal setting, and recognizing when you've got those goals, celebrating the goals when you've achieved them. So there's the obvious goal, which was the pole for me, which was 75 days away, and kind of, as I say, it helped to get me up in the morning, but otherwise it didn't really play much of a role, especially in those earlier days. But it's true of every day. So I'm operating in an entirely blank canvas. Time-wise, there's no day and night as sort of manifested by the sun going below the horizon to create darkness and then coming back up again. It's permanently above the horizon, just circling around you higher and higher and higher until Midsummer's Day, and then it unspirals. So that's not helpful.
Wow.
Even blazing sunshine. There are no milestones. There's no lampposts, trees, buildings. There's nothing that you can gauge any sense of having gone a distance or can lock onto, or nothing familiar. So I have to sort of superimpose my own schedule, time schedule of activity during a 24-hour cycle, and stick to it, because you can let it drift very easily, and then you're not going to get to the pole, or you risk, for that reason, that's the reason, that you don't actually make it, and you can't get the time back. So you've got to be on your best behaviour at all times, which is, I have to say, very draining. And the other thing was just the sense of imposing some geographical sort of distance-related gains. So to give you an example, day one, right, I'm dropped off. I just want to survive a day. I just want to have no dramas and cover, a short distance, not push too hard, and just get my tent up and survive the day. When I wake up in the morning, the next goal is to survive a second day, and then a third day. Right, by the third day, you're well out onto the sea ice. You've done 3 days. Still be extremely embarrassing if you had to come home, but you are now starting to get into the natural rhythm and patterns of a 24-hour cycle in terms of when you get up, how you're going to prepare your meals and everything like that. Then it's day 5 is the next one after day 3. And then right, I've been here 5 days. Okay, well, 5's into 6. If I do this in 60 days, 5 days, that's 12. So I've got 12 more of those blocks, and they're just going to basically get easier and easier as the weather gets better and as spring comes. And it was astonishing how breaking the day down, or the journey down into days and distances like that, for me, it worked. Of course, other people may have different ways of doing it. It's really powerful because just little ticks. I would break the day down into these sledging sessions, 75 minutes a session, with a 10-minute tea break after each session. So when any session when I was feeling really, really beaten up and just on it, I should just finish the session. Don't think about anything else. Forget the poll, forget the next few weeks, just to get this through the session, because there's nothing actually stopping you now, Pen, right now. There's no one with a gun at your head saying stop. There's no bear jumping on you. You're just in your head thinking, I don't want to go on anymore, or I don't think I can. Just please keep going for that. And it's amazing how a cup of tea sitting on the end of your sledge is restorative of, do you know what? I'm not quite sure what that was all about. I feel great now. And off you do it again. It's just polo travel is just putting a lot of footsteps, one in front of the other, interspersed with cups of tea. And it kind of is.
And today for me is a lot of Zoom calls interspersed with, for me, cups of coffee, but and a lot less effort. I don't think I've probably got the calorific burn rate that you would have had doing yours. In fact, probably the opposite.
Yeah.
How you've described breaking that time down and finding all your different dimensions of measuring and milestoning. I know I personally have been doing an awful lot of that over the last 11 months, just measuring in smaller bite-sized chunks to put it into perspective, put this whole situation we're in right now into perspective, as opposed to just looking at something that is just so vast, it's overwhelming. But then I let myself think about a time when we can open our doors, welcome our staff back, put on the show, because that's what we love doing, welcome our guests in, and just have that mega moment. And I visualize and imagine what that's going to feel like, because I'm feeling like it's going to feel amazing. What was it like for you when you got there? I just want to know, when you got to the North Pole and all of everything you shared with us had been, and you arrived, how did you feel?
I'm not sure that this is helpful, but it's the truth for me. I put myself under immense pressure and at great personal and sort of social, if you like, costs of my family and so on. And for me, it was utter relief that I would never have to worry about whether I did or didn't reach the pole. I knew I could. I'd done the journey 1,000 times in my head, but now I'd actually done it. And with that sense of utter relief, and this perhaps is relevant, was within the same moment, within that same momentary experience, it was, oh my goodness, the sense of release, spare capacity that has just been released in my mind, that I would never have. 90% of my thinking time was spent about this, how I was going to do this project, and was I going to do it, out of gone. So it's like, wow, I can't say I've got my life back, but it was that liberating, powerful sense of liberation. I could now do whatever the next thing was. And for your friends and colleagues, perhaps it's the same. So, do you know what? You've done all this preparation over this lockdown. You've really got as many ducks in a row in a way that you've never had a chance to before. And you turn up for that first event and you deliver it. And you think, oh, I thought I was going to be a bit harder than that, you know.
Yeah.
But I was well prepared. Right, bring it on, Alison. You know, give me a bigger project. Come on. So
Yeah.
Yeah, I see that. Yes, thank you.
The takeaways for me are, whatever anyone's personal situation, small steps, definitely celebrate the small successes, and look for a time when you can do something away from the challenging environment that you'll enjoy, whether it's celebrate what you've achieved, the goal, or spend time, in my world, it'll be spend time socialising and enjoying those massive events, Alison, that we get a lot of fun putting on for other people. I guess before we conclude, I'm always keen to know, what's the next project, Pen? What are you working on at the moment, and what's next in your agenda? Are there any more grand adventures?
Yeah, well, I have what I sort of find myself referring to as my rest of life mission, which is to create the world's largest marine reserve to protect the entire area of international waters that surround the North Pole. I mean, everyone knows the sea ice is going, and that has significant geophysical impacts on the Northern Hemisphere, including our weather. So we lose that white protective heat shield that the sea ice provides. And suddenly the revealed ocean underneath is going to absorb a great deal more heat, which then affects ocean circulation, absolutely, and also atmospheric circulation, which is essentially weather. However, it's also a habitat. Sea ice actually provides a habitat above it, on it, in it, on its undersurface and below it, that is entirely particular and unique to the Arctic Ocean. And it's under enormous pressures as its habitat is shrinking, is being melted away. Particularly in the summer times, it's very much like a tropical rainforest being, cut down. It's a habitat in the same sort of way, which people don't realise. And there are all sorts of animals that you and I know about that perhaps we are less aware are dependent on the existence of sea ice as a habitat for all or part of their life cycle. I mean, we all know about the polar bears. But the second largest animal in the world that's ever lived, the bowhead whale, needs sea ice. Orca, the largest dolphin in the world, also known by us as killer whales, sort of wrongly, but they're up there. There are 6 species of seal, and there's walrus, beluga, a whale, white whales, narwhals with the spiraled tooth, in fact, is what that is, which was the source of the unicorn myth. So
those listening,
phantasmagoria of animals that depend on it, and my work is to create this through an international treaty over the next 15 years. So it's funny enough, it's another 15-year mission for me.
Yeah, and if people like myself, Alison, that have enjoyed talking to you or listening to you talk about your experiences today, is there a way that we can link them in and put them in touch with what you're doing if they want to find out more or offer their support? How do we do that?
Well, sorry, if you're asking me, Nathan, I would really love people to be in touch. And probably the easiest way is to go to the website, which is 90north unit.org. And there's a contact page there. And if people like to get in touch in that way, I'd be very pleased to have conversations. We absolutely are needing partners and funders, donors, and all sorts of areas of support and resource to make this possible. We can't do it without that support. But it's an avoidable crisis, but it's coming our way at a very high speed. And funnily enough, the biggest problem is shipping, because as the sea ice, which was a natural barrier, it created a nature reserve, as that's been melting away, so commercial interests can come in, whether it's shipping or fishing or mining, and potentially cause a lot of disruption and displacement and destruction of the wildlife.
So a good place to put your tested and tried resilience to work in achieving that next goal. And I wish you personally, Pen, every success, and I'm sure over the many years to come, I'm sure we'll talk much about how we can help make that happen. But for me personally today, Pen, I can't thank you enough, and some of the stuff that we've spoken about, I'm sure, will be informative and helpful for some. So thank you, and thank you, Alison.
And I also would, it's been an absolute privilege to listen to your stories, Pen, and thank you so much.
Thank you, Alison.
Many people will benefit from hearing of your journeys, I'm sure.
That'd be great. I do hope that they can in some way. Thank you.